If you're a returning viewer, you're probably wondering where the next episode of Greg Tech New Horizons is. It's almost done. It will never be released. Instead, you're getting this video and a brand new GTNH series coming hopefully more regularly than the previous one with some notable changes that I'm making this video to discuss. I could have just released episode 3 and started over and figured out the transition at a later date, but it felt wrong pushing out something that I know isn't continuing while I'm actively working on some transition content. That's this video. That being said, I'm not going to delete or unlist the first 2 episodes. They can stay there. They'll just be a reminder of where I started. Before I go any further, I want to super duper clarify that this video is not a goodbye to YouTube or even the end of GTNH on this channel. I'm currently working on the next episode as we speak. Or as we were watching this, or I'm maybe working on the episode after if you aren't watching it when it came out, or the next episode, you get it. Time passes linearly, etc., etc. Even though I'm not going anywhere, I think it's important to acknowledge that there are going to be some changes. I've realized my previous video making philosophy is not sustainable, and I want it to be, so I'm changing it.
Hey, Ballistic!
Yes, anonymous viewer that I just made up.
This is beginning to feel a lot like the Kmart version of a video essay.
Yes, thank you for that insightful and biting criticism. I'll explain why that is later. Now that I've clarified that I'm not leaving, GTNH isn't ending, let's get to what exactly needs to change. I play a lot of games where one of my primary means of engagement is starting over. Games where I play until I hit a barrier, some sort of difficult part where I'm challenged or pushed by the game to demonstrate skill, or sometimes just get lucky. Then I either overcome the challenge or the run ends. I go back, I start from square one, I hit the reset button, and the game gives me a fresh start.
I think that's called a roguelike.
Thank you, anonymous viewer. Very helpful. But I'm really talking more broadly than just the roguelike genre. I'm talking about games where every time I boot it up, I'm seeing a new world, or playing a new character, or writing a new story.
Yeah, that's called a roguelike.
Yes, roguelikes definitely fit this category. There are also a lot of other games I would lump into this classification. I'm really talking about the way I choose to engage with a specific game. Any game can be about new beginnings if you just start over often enough.
Especially if you're being pretentious about it and overanalyzing everything you do because of the pervasive notion that everything must have a purpose, a deeper motivation behind it than thing fun, and trying to justify to yourself the amount of time you spend thinking about and doing things that have no real impact on real life.
Thank you, viewer. I could not have said it better myself. Sometimes that's okay, sometimes the thing I need is an escape. That's probably why the power fantasy genre of game experiences is so wildly popular. Sometimes the function of a game is sitting down and leaving real life behind for a little while. Short runs and games that can be completed in a few short sittings. In particular, the existence of games that can be done in between everything else is certainly important. Sometimes life is busy and the ability to step out and breathe is important. But I wouldn't be making this video if I believed that's all games are good for. Here's the thing, I really like starting over. My favorite part of a lot of games is that first 30 seconds, the first few minutes, the time when anything is possible. When you have the resources, the skills, the knowledge the game gives you, and nothing else. Just an expansive possibility, the entire game space ahead. I know for me that's one of the most exciting moments in a lot of games, that breath of fresh air before everything gets complicated and your choices start to really matter. It's a good, familiar feeling, and it's comfortable, and it's dangerous. It's really, really easy to do something different every time things get complicated. In some situations, I think that instinct is fine.
It probably comes out of your mental illness, an inability to take risks due to crippling anxiety about consequences.
Yes, thank you, viewer. A very useful and unique perspective. Be careful, you might put my therapist out of a job. That being said, there are situations where anxiety is useful. It keeps us safe, right? It protects us from dangerous situations. That's where the whole trust your gut thing comes from. Risks and consequences, though, are good sometimes. Learning opportunities and all that. That's where I struggle. I often concoct scenarios where I'm never forced to live with the consequences of my own choices. I don't commit fully, or I build in exit strategies, or I frame things in a less serious way. So if it all goes sideways, I don't end up on the hook. I'm sure I'm not alone in this mindset, but it's a crippling mistake that keeps me from reaping the benefits of risks. Who knows where I would be in life if I really committed? What would be different if I actually put myself out there more often and dealt with the results of these choices instead of walking the middle path, compromising every step of the way so I never have to be responsible for making a choice? Anyway, Minecraft. I often play Minecraft with this mindset. I open a new world or join a server with some friends and then play until I reach the first major obstacle. Then sometimes I get through it and keep pushing until I hit the next one. More often than not, though, I stop. I put the mod pack aside or move on to a different game for a while. You may have noticed that in both my existing episodes, I moved my base. Looking back at it, I think that may have been my way of avoiding making a real choice. Every few hours, I see the world from a different angle. I'm never held to one singular decision. I can pivot whenever I need to, do something different whenever I start doubting myself.
Okay, so just keep going, but don't change what you're doing. Just keep building the castle you planned on building, just keep pushing through LV and onto the next chapter, deal with the consequences.
I'll be honest, I don't think I'm that good at self reflection. As attractive as that option is, keeping the good parts and getting rid of the bad, I think it would always bother me that the world I'm in is tainted. That the ghosts of my mistakes, of my failed attempts, continue to follow me. That my progress was completed under the mindset that everything is temporary and that nothing I do has long term effects.
Yeah, that's the point. The consequences of your mistakes.
My imaginary viewer has a point, but something in my brain, and maybe it's denial, says that that's not good enough. There's a tiny bit of me that's convinced that nothing good can be built on rotting foundations, and I know there might be a fallacy there that maybe it reflects the same approach that has characterized a lot of my previous gaming experiences, but I think it's more than that. By moving my base constantly, I failed to build up any meaningful amount of resources because I kept spending them to fuel my indecision. I was building scaffolding, not infrastructure. While not impossible, it would be really incredibly difficult to reconfigure my entire world to fit my new strategy. I think the flatly more intelligent decision from here is to create a new world where the entire thing can be built to fit a more permanent mindset.
Okay, so what? You're gonna make a new world and keep moving your base around each episode until your hubris catches up with you and you give up entirely on GTNH.
Okay, rude, but fair. If I'm going to be doing things differently, I should have some plan in place so I don't slip back into the old, easier pattern of just giving up when things get tough. That's the other part of why I'm making this video, because making this video has taught me a lot about motivation, my relationship to gaming, and generally how to make a halfway decent video that doesn't watch like a drug-addled mental breakdown in slow motion set to a Minecraft music disc.
I don't know, you've recreated that feeling pretty well in this video.
I said I'd learned, not that I'd improve immediately. That leads me to my next point, which is how exactly I can change my strategy and approach to better meet my goals for the series and this channel as a whole. Going forward, I'm going to be treating each episode of GTNH like an essay, with a broader discussion or point to make alongside the usual progression and gameplay. I can't guarantee there'll be good essays or even good gameplay videos, but my hope is that by being mediocre at both, I can motivate myself to continue creating videos and making progress while learning more about myself and my relationship to the game. At the end of the day, that's really what I'm here for. At the end of each episode, I will briefly tease the next one, as well as what I plan to accomplish. Next episode, I'm going to find a relatively permanent base location that I will move to for at least the next 10 episodes. My stretch goals are to reach the Steam Age and set up a basic storage system. That may not happen in the next episode, though. I'm setting my sights low and wildly realistic, and I hope that will make sure I complete them and keep steady progress. If I don't achieve either of my stretch goals, they'll become my main goals for episode 2, probably along with some other things. But who knows? That's the most exciting thing about a fresh start, right? The possibilities are endless. While I wait for the world to load, I just wanted to insert myself right here at the end to thank you for watching all the way to the end. I know this video is a little different than probably what was expected. I hope it is received decently. I am hoping too that this transition will be motivating for me and keep people interested in the content. I also didn't mention this during the video, but I did lose my previous save, so part of the reason I had to start over was because of a hard drive issue that it wouldn't load basically. So long story short, a lot of reasons that I restarted, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping it's going to be good. It's going to take forever to load. That's kind of inevitable. As always, please remember to take care of yourself. That's always super important. And yeah, leave a like, dislike, comment, whatever else you got. Subscribe if you're feeling generous. Drink lots of water. Give yourself a break, and I'll see you next time.